This is Gemara Menachos Daf Lamed Hey, and we're holding on Lamed Lamed Beis. We are 2 lines from the bottom as we continue discussing the intricacies and the halachos of tefillin. Most notably, we finished off with the fascinating and fabulous machlekes Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam as the seder of the parshiyos, and literally on those heels, 2 lines from the bottom, Amar Rav Chanan Amarav, Hechle Parshiyoseo Psulois. If you switch around the order, it is possible, which really is the premise why this is such a grand machlekes. Because it would seem that according to Rashi, Rabbeinu Tam is possible, according to Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi are possible, etc. Says the Gemara, Amar Abaye lo yamaron. This is not Elam Gavaisa Libraisa. Only if you change an inside for an outside. What does that mean? That means you have 4 parshiyos. So you have the middle 2 and you have the outer 2. So if you change the middle and the outer parshiyos, then Zakta Gemara, then it's going to be a problem. Ubraisa Ligviyasa. Or the outside to the insert. If you switch 2 and 3, or you switch 1 and 4, then it's not a problem. Amle Rava, Frakt Rava, I don't understand. Why is that a problem? That it's a problem because that area which has to see the empty spaces doesn't see it. And that which does not have to see the empty airspace, it sees it. So we have a fundamental flaw when you switch an outside with an inside. It says the Gemara, if you swap outer ones, or if you swap inner ones, then what? Nami, we have the same problem. That which sees each level of airspace can see the other level of airspace, and therefore Frakti Gemara that in this case the tefillin should be possible as well. Ella, says the Gemara, lo yishna. You're right. There's no difference. And any level of hichlef parshiyoseh, any level switching around the order, will indeed passel up the tefillin. Continues the Gemara. We're 10 lines down. The first word on line is lo yishna lamid shin. Omar Rav Chanan Amarav. Titura ditfillin halacha l'Moshe misinai. The titura, the outside box of tefillin, as we're going to see, that is halacha l'Moshe misinai. Amar Abaye, ma'avarta the tefillin halacha l'Moshe misinai. The ma'avarta, the passing over top area, we'll show pictures in a moment. Says Abaye, the shin on the tefillin shall rosh l'chamishinai. And we need to have that the charetz goes all the way down to the makkah matfar. So says, let's understand exactly where are these areas on our tefillin. In as much as we're wearing tefillin daily, it could be that knowing what's a titura, what's a ma'avarta, what does it mean that the shin is halacha l'Moshe misinai? Perhaps that's not so simple. So here we go. We're going to pull up a bunch of pictures that we can all get a clear understanding of what are these 3 items. Again, let's see them in words as the pictures come up, which is titura is going to be the bottom box. The ma'avarta is going to be literally the bridge, the area on top connecting. And the shin of the halacha l'Moshe misinai is going to be just that, the shin on the tefillin. So you see right in front of you, you see the titura, the shaded area of the bottom, that is where the titura, which is the base, the bottom of the tefillin. We move along, and now we see the ma'avarta, the area crossing over. Again, Shitas Rashi, Big Machlekes Yishainim, what's going on over here? And finally, we see in front of us the shin, which of course maybe is the easiest one, which is a shin on the side of our tefillin. Those are the three cases, says the Gemara. They're all halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And finally, in this last case, you see very clearly how the bottom of the shin is touching the tefillin itself. Continues the Gemara. This is not a unanimous din. Excuse me. Rav Dimi min Ardaya Amar Kivan de Minkar Lo Yitzarech. Says Rav Dimi min Ardai, once the grooves are able to be seen above the ketzitza, Lo Yitzarech, the grooves themselves don't have to actually touch the base of the tefillin, arguing on the last sin that we just saw. Rabbi continues the Gemara. I kill for the tefillin. Says Abaya, one has to examine the parchment of the tefillin. Why do you have to examine the parchment of the tefillin? Says Abaya. The Dilma Islay Reusa. Perhaps there is a defect to be done, and we need ksiva tama. We need a complete writing veleka, and it won't have. Whereas Rav Nimi ben Ardaya Amar Lo Yitzarech Kolmis Dbadik La, says Rav Nimi ben Ardaya Lo Yitzarech, you do not need to inspect it. Why? Because Kolmis Dbadik La, the cipher as he's writing it, that's the greatest bedika onto the cloth, etc. Continues the Gemara. The fact that your ritzuais are black, lach l'Moshe Sinai. Meisvei, frak the Gemara, tefillin ain't kosher to sun. Ela b'yamin, your tefillin can only be made with yamin, their own material, leather. Bein yoraikais, bein shchayrais, bein levanais. Whether they're green, whether they're black, whether they're white. Adumais, red ones, lo yaseh. Why? Givnai, because it's a ginai. V'davar acher, and another reason. Says the Gemara, Rav Yudah, Ma'asav Talmidish Rav Akiva sheyakosher tefillin and b'loshayna shel tcheles. They were tying on their tefillin with shafts of blue wool. And Rav Akiva didn't say anything. Says the Gemara, Asher I say Sadik Ra Talmidai v'leimicha bayin, and tell me the Heilige Rabbi Akiva. So a Talmid make a mistake and he didn't see anything. No, it must be that you're allowed to make tefillin from these materials aside for leather. Amrulai, the Chacham responded, hey, yes, Loi Rai Sai, Vim Rai Sai, Loi Aya Manichai. The Rav Akiva, the Heilige Rebbe, never saw them, and if he would have seen them, Avada, he would have stopped them. It is the Gemara. Ma'isa, about 18 lines at the bottom. The first one is Menichai. Ma'isa, Behorkanis, Ben Aisha, Ben Horkanis. Horkanis, the son Rav Lazar Rav Horkanis, Ben Horkanis. Sheikaisha tefillin b'lashenis shel ergam, when he would tie tefillin with tongues of wool, v'lamrlei davar. After I say sadik Rabbanai b'leimicha bai amrlei hein leiro, I saw they never saw him. V'imroi son lei menicha, they would never let him. Ketani miya ben yirakzit shchos ben levanos. We see it could be any question, any color. Meaning we got stuck. Is it leather? Is it not leather? But now says the Gemara, okay, you figured out your issues. But now we have a different problem. We see it could be different colors. But you just told me that it has to be the black. Says the Gemara, like kasha. Can be bifnim, can be bachotz. We're talking about the colored straps on the inside. That could be white. It could be anything aside for red. On the outside, it has to be black. Frak the Gemara ibifnin, my ganai v'davar. What's the problem? No one sees it. Says the Gemara, you know why? Because that it flips away, flips around, and people might see it, and that's the reason why you're supposed to keep it black or other relevant colors. Tana, we learned in our brayso. Tefillin mirubah is halacha l'maisha mi Sinai. The fact that tefillin has to be perfectly squared is a halacha l'maisha mi Sinai. Amar Rabba b'tifron ulachsandron. Lachsain and their stitching and their diagonals all have to be straight. I bring you a raya. I said tefillin, tefillah agula, sakanavim by mitzvah. Rabba masni Davida kiam zuga. Says Rabba the Mishnah. Can we talk about that tefillin made it like a nut? Therefore, there's no raya to what we're saying about it has to be in the same place, but it's a fascinating brisa nonetheless. Continues the Gemara once on the topic of pasels and tefillin. Amar Avuna. Tefillin kozman shepinei tavla kayames ksheris. As long as the tablet literally is mikayam, then you put on your tefillin. Rav Chisda Amar nifsku shtei ksherai shalosh psulais. Says Rav Chisda, if two are split, it's kosher. If three of the walls, again, there's four compartments of multiple walls, three is basal, two is a shaila. Sheirai shalosh psulos. Amar Rav. So what does Rav Chisda hold? Ha de amrit shtayim sheirai slay amarin ela zeh shaloi keneged zeh aval zeh keneged zeh psulos. Frak the Gemara. Why is that keneged zeh? Nami lo amar ela bechadet only if it's no aval ba'atik the old ones lasamba. Because as we learned, that's where the real issue comes from. Amar le Abaye le Rav Yosef. What does it mean? New and old. Amar lei kol echad kimatz libei v'shalcha v'ader cholim atikta. It's an old one. V'idach harinasa. You have to get to the shidduch. So that's how they answered that. What they answered that. Why? Because the case of old ones, there's no problem that tefillin will be kosher. And what is the case of chanata? Says the Gemara, any time, whenever you stretch it out, it goes the hide, and then it shrinks back. That's atiksa. That's hold the hide, literally. And that's how we figure out the cases. Vinami, as we turn over. Ki olechat chimali be b'masna asya basreisa chadzasa ve'itech atikta. Says the Gemara. Let's continue with the Ritzuos of Tefillah. Continues the Gemara. Let's move on to more dinim of the Ritzuos. Abai Avi Yosef Amid Rav Yosef if sikle Ritzu on the Maisa is Tefillin Shraptor. Amar Lei Abai Yesen Ma'ul Mikatrei. What's halacha? Do I tie the two pieces together? Amar Le responds Rabbi Yosef, Ukshartim Kisef, Shetei Kishira Tam, should be a perfect binding, meaning it cannot be the two Ritzuos put together, it has to be one complete Ritzua. Amli Rav Acha Beit Rav Yosef Rav Ashi Ma'olim Iftarei V'al Yeletfira. Lamaisa, if they tore, what should he do? Can you stitch them together? And put the stitching on the inside so you don't see it. Amar responds Rav Ashi, go look what's going on. What do you mean? Go look. Do you see any tefillin that are sewn up? No. So don't do that. Amar Abba, stubs of tefillin straps are kosher. Stubs, the ends of them, the shirayim, parts that hang down, those are kosher. When they rip, the remaining parts are the gardumim. And Rav Papa says, as long as originally they were long enough, if now they rip a little higher, it's still going to be kosher. But says the Gemara of La Milsi, this is not true. Midamri b'nei Rav Chia, as Rav Chia's children have taught, gardumi tchiz v'gardumi ezav ksherim. The stubs of tchelas or of the ezav for the paraduma is kosher. Excuse me, 10 lines down. Hasmu de tashmishe mitzvah. And the reason is because over there, they're tashmishe mitzvah. The leftovers are tashmishe mitzvah. Aval hacha de tashmishe kedusha ninu. But over here, they're not. They're tashmisha kedusha. They're for loy. They're not going to be kosher. Says the Gemara mechlal de'eslu shira. It implies that there is a shear. How much they have to go down? Your shel reish. What is that? Shir v'kamashirayu? My Rabbi Barachamer Yishloish ad etzba tzarda until the tzarda finger. What exactly does that mean? So the Mefarshim here explain. Rashi, it's actually Rashi Numa that we learned. That's the index finger, or maybe it means the thumb finger. Some say it's the middle finger, right? From Yuma, etc., etc. Says the Gemara of Kana Machli Kafaf. Rav Kana said it's curved. Rashi Machli Pashit. Rashi says it's a straight measurement. Rabba Katarlu Pashit Vishadilu. Rabba would tie the tefillin to his head, Pashit, straighten the straps, Vishadilu, and throw them behind him so that they hung over his back. Rav Achbar Yaakov Katalu Umitlis Lahu. He would tie them to his head and then braid the straps. He would not let them just hang loose, but rather he would braid them. Mar braid the Ravana of it Kedidan. He did like we do, which is what? Of course, we have them draped in front of us. So fascinating to see Tanayim Amarayim, different ways that they dealt with their tefillin. Continues the Gemara, more dinam of tefillin. Amar Rav Yehuda Breder Rav Shmuel Bar Shilus Mishmei Derhaf. Kesher shel tefillin halacha l'Moshe miSinai. The kesher of tefillin is a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. As we're going to see, there's two ksharim of the tefillin. There's the kesher of the shel yad, and there's the kesher of the shel roish. Says the Gemara, both of these, what do we know about them? They are a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Exactly how they are created. We'll show a picture of that in a moment. And Amar Rav Nachman, actually, let's pull up that picture. Let's pull up that picture right now. Excuse me. Why is it not pulling up? 1 second. Oh, so I have to turn it on. There you go. That is the Yud. Again, for everyone's wondering why are we showing pictures. We all wear tefillin, we know what it is. But anyways, and that is the Dalit on the Shel Rosh, of course, the two minhagim, how to make it. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Nachman, teaches Rav Nachman, V'navyehem lebar, and the ornaments of the straps, the shakai of the tefillin, face outward. A story, Ravashi, Avi Yosef Kamed Marzutra, Zavkule Ratua, the tefillin, his tefillin strap flipped around, normally Losav Lamar, V'nehavu Labar. You don't hold it, they have to be on the outside. Amarle, Lava Daite, I did not realize that they flipped around. And we conclude today's share with a little bit of a gadita about the tefillin. And the Goyim are going to see that Hashem's name is over you. They'll be afraid of you. That you wear tefillin when a guy sees it, he's going to be afraid of you. Of course, we know all the famous stories of the Goyim, etc., that a guy saw him in his tefillin and they mamish were petrified. Kadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I'll remove my hand, you'll see my back. Amar Rav Chana bar Bezna, Amar Rav Shimon Chasidim, Lami Cherlo, Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe Kesher, Shel, Tefillin, Hashem shel Moshe Rabbeinu, the Kesher of Tefillin. And finally, Amar Rav Yehuda, 10 lines at the bottom, Kesher Tefillin, Sarach Shei Lamaila, K'tei Yisrael, Lamala, V'loi Lamata. The knot of the head tefillin has to be above and the back of the head, and not lower down on the neck. Why? It shows us that the Yidden are above and not below. And as well, it has to be connected the face, the back is directly connected the face. Why? To show that the Yidden are at the front and not at the back. Stop over here, we'll pick it up from here as we'll discuss the bracha of tefillin the next year. Psiyata Dishmaya.